You're listening to the Neighborhood Bulldog, where the porch light's always on and the maroon runs deep. I'm Scott Neighbors, and this is your home for real Mississippi State sports talk. Around here, we don't chase headlines. We break down the wins, the losses, the culture, and what it really means to be a Bulldog. If it matters in Starkville, it matters here. So pull up a chair, grab a drink, and welcome to the neighborhood. Hail State. Welcome back to another episode of the Neighborhood Bulldog here on a Wednesday night. Going to dive into Mississippi State baseball's massive clash versus Southern Miss last night at Pete Taylor Park down in Hattiesburg. Southern Miss having a phenomenal season, one for the record books already. Mississippi State, a great start, getting things back to where they should be as a program so far this season. First top 10 matchup in rivalry history between State and Southern Miss. Mississippi State coming in ranked number 4, Southern Miss coming in ranked at 10, and hosting the Bulldogs down there in the Berg. Mississippi State loses on the road at Southern Miss 7-6. Although they out-hit Southern Miss 9-7, it was really how the game started that set the tone. Mississippi State, you remember, played in that tournament in Arlington last weekend where they took on Arizona State, Virginia Tech, and then played UCLA until late in the afternoon on Sunday. Well, some flights got canceled, and so Mississippi State essentially rode a bus from Arlington, Texas, straight to the game in Hattiesburg. And you could definitely tell they had some lag about them from the travel variations that they faced. Southern Miss coming off of a massive 3-game sweep on the road of Louisiana Tech in Ruston, Louisiana. They beat Louisiana Tech so badly that my old friend Lane Burroughs apologized to his fan base after being the coach there for 10 years. Said it was embarrassing, unacceptable, and just the Lane Burroughs that I know, and he will have those guys back playing tough baseball. But Southern Miss took it to them in every facet all weekend long. Again, getting to host the Bulldogs, they get the win. Southern Miss got things started in the first inning with a 3-run home run that was 450 feet to left center field, disappearing into the woods off the bat of Dre Barrett. So they take a 3-0 lead right there in the first, and then they add on a solo home run by Seth Smith. The lead actually jumped out to 5-0 on Mississippi State. And at this point, if you're a Bulldog fan, you're thinking, hostile environment on the road, midweek game, how bad is this fixing to get? But being the resilient lineup that Mississippi State is offensively, they were actually able to add 3 runs in the 5th inning, coming off of a Noah Sullivan 2-run double. And then Reed Stallman followed him with an RBI single. So now you're down 5-3. Well, in the 7th inning, State ends up tying it on a Reed Stallman single to left, a 2 RBI single, that is, and then Ryder Woodson follows him with a single, taking the lead, coming all the way back and taking the lead 6-5 there in the top of the 7th inning. And if you're a Mississippi State fan, you're feeling great. You're going, okay, that's the team we knew. They woke up a little bit, and that crowd at Pete Taylor Park got quiet real fast. That didn't last very long, though, because in the bottom of the 7th, Southern Miss immediately took the lead back and had a 7-6 lead. That is after Maddox Miller gets 2 strikeouts in a row on swinging sliders in the dirt. And our catcher, Andrew Raymond, just not ready for them, not ready to block them. The ball gets by him, and the run scores both times. Back-to-back batters that happened. One of them absolutely should have been blocked by an SEC caliber catcher. You've got to get your knees down, get your chest over the ball. And the other thing is, a breaking ball's coming. You know it's going to be in the dirt. You've got to get down and you've got to block it, especially with a runner on third. So one of them, 100%, catcher's got to be better. The other one, Maddox Miller threw an absolute disgusting slider that bounced a little bit early before the plate, got the swing and miss. That one is hard to blame on the catcher. That had a wide bounce to it. Um, so, two of them that you'd like to have back. You like to have the strikeouts, but wish the ball would have just kind of stayed right there. And then Mississippi State's not losing at that point. Um, Top of the eighth inning, we actually had a good chance. Jacob Parker steals second base. We got 2 outs. And Garrick Fry, who has been a leader that has come through time and time and time again, on a 3-2 count, watches the flattest fastball you've ever seen go literally right down the middle and just gets frozen solid for Southern Miss to end the threat there. And then you're thinking, okay, great. We're going to the top of the ninth. We've still got a chance. We've got our best batters up to the plate. Southern Miss had just brought in a new pitcher. He hadn't thrown a pitch in the game yet. And our All-American Ace Reese swings at the very first pitch the guy has thrown the whole day. Forget that it's his first pitch thrown the whole day. You're also down a run. And we swing at the first pitch and we fly out to right field. Well, the next batter, Noah Sullivan, pops up to shortstop. And then Ryder Woodson strikes out to end the game. Southern Miss wins 7-6. Obviously, valiant effort. Very glad the Bulldogs were able to come back and make a game of it, because for 5 innings, the game was completely dead. Mississippi State had no energy. The at-bats were terrible. The pitching was not great on the night. And you end up showing what lineup you are and having resiliency there and coming back and making it somewhat competitive. On the night, pitching-wise, Brendan Sweeney actually got the start, the transfer from South Carolina. Just his second start of his college career. He only went 1 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, and 2 walks to 2 Ks. So not the start that you're looking for if you're on the road against a top 10 team, especially against an in-state rival. Mississippi State used 7 pitchers total. Altogether, 7 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned of those 7, 6 walks, and had 13 Ks all combined. So, Southern Miss took a Johnny Holstaff approach. Used 9 pitchers in the game, and none of them pitched more than 1.2 innings. Dylan Causey started the game 1 inning, 1 K, and zeros across the board there. And Josh Ott came in, pitched a good bit for Southern Miss, and ended up getting the W on the night for them. Player of the game for Mississippi State, obviously a rough night at the plate, a rough night on the mound. You're getting beat badly, and then you make a game of it. So who could we pick as player of the game? It's got to be Reed Stallman, going 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, 1 walk, and 1 K. Had a great weekend last weekend in Arlington. Just continues to show the maturity that he has as a hitter in several key situations. Knew exactly when to step out, take a breather, and had really good swings on the ball all night. Now, that's about the game. 2 things about Southern Miss that people need to understand, okay? There are more State and Ole Miss fans in Mississippi than there are Southern Miss fans. That's just a fact. Watching the game on TV was miserable. And if you watch SEC baseball like State and Ole Miss fans do, I don't know what Southern Miss fans do when there's good baseball on, because, their team's usually not in it. but now they are. Um, Everybody knows the Vandy Whistler, and it is obnoxious as can be. I mean, it makes games unbearable to watch. I will tell you right now, I would watch a tournament of Vanderbilt games with the Vandy Whistler sitting right by the camera, more so than I would rather hear, throw it in the dirt, like a damn 5-year-old at the Little League T-ball field. A grown human screaming, throw it in the dirt with half a voice right by the camera. The game was literally unwatchable because of that. So the stomping on the bleachers, that's a cool part of Pete Taylor Park. I've been there for games, and when you're stomping on the bleachers, that place gets loud. But that's the nature of playing on the road. That's great. Love that. Make that a part of your deal. But if you're going to yell, throw it in the dirt, say it with your chest, not however this person was screaming it. That can go on somewhere. Okay. The other thing about Southern Miss is you guys have never won a game in Omaha. You've never won a game in Omaha. You've been to Omaha one time in 2009. 2009. Last time you even sniffed Omaha, 2009. You've gotten close, and I absolutely think Southern Miss has a real chance to not only be in Omaha this year, but if you make it to Omaha, you're going to win games in Omaha this year. Southern Miss is a damn good baseball team and a really good program. And they have gotten closer and closer and closer, but just have not been able to seal the deal. And this team right now that they have looks 10 times better than the team they had in 2009. They are legit. So, Southern Miss fans, yeah, I'm a State fan. We've got Ole Miss fans, but I don't know what you guys do during football season, but you got one hell of a baseball team this year, and you guys should be proud of it because you guys are going to beat a lot of big teams throughout the season. So, playing in the Sun Belt, there's no excuse to not win that league if you're Southern Miss as good as you are this year. And you guys should be looking to not only be in a super regional, but you should be looking at national seed and hosting throughout all the way to Omaha. So, realistically speaking, I got to give you your props where it's due. What I will not tolerate is beating the brakes off of a Mississippi State team that is going to host a regional, is going to be in the conversation for a national title the entire season, and complaining about a strike three call that supposedly gave Mississippi State 3 runs when Mississippi State didn't even get a hit in the first few innings. And you won the game. You didn't just come from Arlington where you had a strike three call that literally cost you the game. If you get a bad blown call in the second inning, third inning, fourth inning, fifth inning, and the other team scores a run or two or three, you've got plenty of at bats to make that up. You were not on your last batter with 2 outs and get dicked by a bad call that literally the game is over and it gets ripped away from you. You haven't had that happen. So I don't want to hear this, oh, well, it gave Mississippi State 3 runs. You won the game. Shut up. You won the game. Try having a game like we had against the number one team in the country on Sunday and have that happen to you and see how you like it. So y'all can go on with that. But great team. Southern Miss is going to do a lot of damage. Be watching for them. More than likely, they're going to move up in the polls this week. And I would consistently say they might be ranked between 5 and 7 the rest of the season. I don't see anybody on their schedule, especially in their conference, that they should be worried about. I mean, you're looking at what's fixing to be one of the best seasons in school history probably the best season in school history for Southern Miss. So that's a wrap on Tuesday's midweek game there. One of the biggest midweek games in years, and Mississippi State just chose to play half the game. Moving on to this weekend, Mississippi State's going to take on Lipscomb. Series got moved a little bit, so the first game is actually tomorrow night, Thursday night, as we record this, due to some weather. So Lipscomb 6-5 on the season. They've got series wins over Dayton. They split the series with Villanova, and then they split a 4-game series with Toledo. So that's how you get to 6-5 if you're Lipscomb in 2026. Versus Mississippi State all time, Lipscomb is 1-10. Lipscomb's only win coming in 2003 versus Mississippi State. The last time Mississippi State played Lipscomb was a series in 2023 where Mississippi State swept them at Dudy Noble Field. And in all 11 games all time that these two teams have played, Lipscomb averages 3.9 runs per game in those matchups. The people to watch in the lineup for Lipscomb, you're going to have to keep an eye on Blake Carter, sophomore from Knoxville, Tennessee, currently batting .480 with 3 doubles, 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and a 7-4 strikeout to walk ratio. So he does strike out a little bit. Then you've got Aaron Stilo Giannis, a senior from Ocala, Florida, and also a transfer from Polk State. Also, second top hitter on the team, batting .405, 1 double, 1 home run, 6 RBIs, and a 6-6 strikeout to walk ratio there. Another guy to keep an eye on, one more that I felt like highlighting, Damian Keneally Jr., a senior transfer from Polk State, batting .366, 3 doubles, 1 triple, 1 home run, and a team-leading 11 RBIs. So you definitely want to watch who's on base when he's up, and don't put many people on base before his at-bats because he will get them in. And he typically, so far this year, is batting anywhere from 3rd to 6th in the lineup. So they kind of move him around in that middle there for Lipscomb, and he just rakes the ball. Starting rotation for Lipscomb, your Friday night guy, not really something to worry a whole lot about to me. Alexander Linus, transferred from Nicholls State. Then he went to Nova Southeastern before ending up at Lipscomb. So far this season, in 11.2 innings pitched, he's 0-1 with 6.17 ERA, and he's got a 12 strikeout to 6 walk ratio there. But opponents are also batting .304 against Linus, so should be able to hit him on tomorrow night's game. The one we should keep an eye on is going to be that Saturday game. Cole O'Brien, pitcher for Lipscomb, a senior with a 2.45 ERA in 11 innings pitched, 11 Ks to 5 walks. And guess what opponents are batting against him? They are batting just 132 off of Mr. O'Brien there. So Mississippi State is going to have their scouting top notch to hit Cole O'Brien, and we're going to want to get to him early and get him out of the game. That could be a problem for the Bulldogs there. Third guy so far this year, Javarian Martin Jr., a freshman, spent his freshman season at South Carolina before transferring to Georgia Southern and playing there last year and then coming to Lipscomb this year. Again, Sunday starter, third game starter, 9.00 ERA, just 7 innings pitched, and a .345 opponent batting average. So I feel really, really good about Thursday's game. I feel really good about Sunday's game. But that matchup with Cole O'Brien on the mound, watch out. The Bulldogs are going to have to be ready to swing the bat when they get in the batter's box because he is their stud. In other sports for Mississippi State, I know we don't really want to talk about it a whole lot, and I promise it will be over soon. Men's basketball having a matchup on Tuesday night against Florida. I'm not sure who was watching the basketball game over a top 10 midweek matchup versus an in-state rival in baseball, but evidently somebody was. Mississippi State just, again, completely getting blown off the court for what, the fourth or fifth game in a row in conference here, losing to Florida 108-74. That puts the Bulldogs record at 13-17 overall and 5-12 in conference. In what is Chris Jans' supposed to be fourth year, and you don't have any Tolu Smiths or Cam Matthews walking through that door. Just completely botched the recruiting season, completely botched the talent evaluations. I mean, it's bad. When I tell you it's bad, it's bad. And watching the games, I was a student when Rick Ray was the coach. And me and my girlfriend, who's now my wife, we went to way more women's basketball games to watch Vic Schaefer and the women compete than we ever did go to men's games under Rick Ray. And this is getting very, very close to what we would look like in those Rick Ray days. And it is just not good. I mean, I think this season it has been, but at this point, there's no NIT, there's no NCAA tournament. If you're Chris Jans and you want this job, which Chris Jans needs to prove that he does want this job, um, as soon as the season ends, you've got to be out recruiting. You have no choice. You completely blew it going into this season. You've got to switch that up next season if you're Chris Jans for the men's basketball team. Women's basketball, we're sitting here on a Wednesday night. They actually played Florida in the first round of the women's SEC basketball tournament earlier today. And, you know, coming off of a pretty competitive loss to LSU, this one wasn't really good. You know, you lose to Florida 86-68, and now you wait. Selection Sunday is going to be, I think, March 15th, I think is what I heard. So the women and Sam Purcell are going to be waiting. And with the season that the ladies had, the talent that they had this year, they really shouldn't be any question of if they get into the NCAA tournament. They are definitely in the NIT, but you had several letdowns that should not have occurred this season, and just very streaky, very inconsistent from the women's team. Very talented, but just could not string together a lot of good as they played these games. You'd have a big win, and then you'd get blown out the next game. You'd come back and have a very competitive game against a top team, and then you'd come out against a lesser team and just not even show up. So we will see what happens there on Selection Sunday for the Lady Bulldogs, but I expect their season to continue. Where and when and how, we will find out. And then softball, continuing a dominant season, one of the best in school history, one of the highest rankings they've ever had as a softball program under Coach Ricketts out there. They beat UAB 6-1 in the midweek to put their record at 19-2 on the season. So the softball team absolutely getting it done. They have a huge weekend tournament coming up, the Jaguar Classic over at South Alabama, where they're going to face New Mexico, Samford, and South Alabama. They're going to play New Mexico twice, play South Alabama twice, and play Samford once on the weekend. So you've got a chance there to go have 5 more wins. And hopefully they hit that 5-0 mark this weekend and just continue to climb the rankings. I mean, it's already a historical season, but they are really, really getting the job done over there. So if you've never been to a softball game at News Park, this is the year to make that happen. Um, just the ladies are getting it done. Can't wait to see how far they go this year, especially once conference play starts. And then Mississippi State plays Lipscomb this weekend and then gets ready for their first road trip of the year, true road trip in conference to start conference play at Arkansas. So welcome to the SEC, Brian O'Connor. Your first trip is to Fayetteville. Um, but Arkansas State beat Arkansas the other day. Some of these lesser teams are taking bigger teams to the woodshed in the midweek games, and it's quite shocking at times, but we will see what happens there. Quick score roundup from around the country tonight. We've got Georgia, who just lost to Troy last week in the midweek, losing to Western Carolina 10-9 tonight at Foley Field over there. You've got Tennessee blowing out Oakland 11-2, Kentucky beating Eastern Kentucky 8-4. And let's see here. Nicholls State beating Southern Miss 3-2 after Southern Miss won their Super Bowl last night. So that is going to be a letdown game for them for sure, coming off their biggest win in years versus the mighty Mississippi State Bulldogs. They immediately let themselves down, losing to the 7-8 Nicholls State Colonels. And the big one. What is going on in Baton Rouge, Louisiana? You just lost to McNeese State last week on a Tuesday. 3-win McNeese State, mind you. And then last night or the night before, you lose to Nova Southeastern. Or Northeastern. I'm sorry. Northeastern beating LSU in Baton Rouge. And right now tonight, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns up 7-2 on LSU in the top of the ninth inning. I'm not sure what's happening in Baton Rouge, but those fans are going to get rabid very quickly if Jay Johnson doesn't figure it out very, very soon. That is going to be 3 very bad losses for the LSU Tigers in what was supposed to be their defending national champion season. So that's the wrap up for a big midweek slate for Mississippi State. We preview the weekend coming up for Mississippi State baseball and softball with massive opportunities. Mississippi State getting a much-needed step back versus Lipscomb. At least we hope that's what this becomes. And then getting ready for the first SEC Conference Series next week. And I cannot be more excited. We will see you all then. Welcome to the neighborhood. Like and subscribe. And thank you for joining. Hail State.